Still in the waiting room. See, friends, a waiting room is not home. A waiting room is not the operating room. A waiting room is not the doctor's office. Have you noticed that? A waiting room is a place of uncertainty. A waiting room is a place of silence. Church, a waiting room is a place of powerlessness. See, a waiting room, church, is a place of delays. A place of delays. See, one thing that we have to accept is that we don't choose that place. We don't choose to control how long we stay in that place. And yet, many of God's people live there. Many of God's people, even right here in this place, are living in this one waiting room, even as we speak. Friends, some people wait minutes in the waiting room. Some people wait days. And some wait 1,000 days. After 1,000 days, friends, I'm still in the waiting room. May 5th, 2023 marked my life forever. The following week, after May 5th, 2023, we started a biblical journey along the hospital journey. Can we see the next one? Week after week, I will come and report to you the state of the situation while revising the will, plan, character of God. Can you believe it? We have spent 1.5 years on the series to be continued. And yes, you can find all 42 messages online. You can go to YouTube, you can go to our website, you'll find it there, all 42 messages of that series. I never preached such a long series in my life. And I don't think I will ever do it again. Now, these 42 messages were full of pain, full of tears, full of uncertainty. Realities that were met by joy, celebration, and guidance. It has been 418 days since the last message of that series was preached, was delivered. And I thought today could be an ideal time to recount the story to you all. Today, just when we turn to 1,000 days, it's been 1,000 days since this waiting room. And I want to tell you, friends, that today, 2 years, 9 months, and 2 days. Today, 33 months. Today, 144 weeks later, I'm still in the waiting room. Now the picture in the back, can we go back to that one picture of the waiting room? That one, thank you. I took that picture 3 hours after the scheduled time for the surgery, my wife's surgery. No one told me anything about what was going on. They said it will take an hour and a half only for the surgery to happen, and then she will come out. 3 hours after the hour and a half, I was still in the waiting room. And even though no one had any information, what you see in the back, the chart that is in the back, that is the information, and everyone said patient out or in OR. Mine didn't say anything. My wife didn't say anything. And so I will come to this person sitting there, and she will not tell me anything. No one knew anything, but in my heart of hearts, I knew something was wrong. Because it was an hour and a half, and it was already 4 hours and a half. And no one said anything. That's right there in that picture. That's the waiting room, where I was waiting for my wife during her brain surgery. Sometimes I wonder if I ever left that room. Friends, I'm still in the waiting room. But I know I'm not the only one who's been there. And today I want to ask about this experience to an expert on these kind of situations. David knew about these things. David knew about going through calamities. He knew about going through pain, suffering. Sometimes, or most of the times, it was because he himself caused it. He knew about this. So I call him an expert. And David in Psalm 27 is where he shares this in a special way. And I wanted to bring it to you, friends, because I think there is something different about this psalm that can be considered a psalm of lament, which is a category of psalms. And this might not be part of that category, but it sounds to me that in some way he's actually transpiring his pain and his suffering. You typically find the psalmist complaining before he celebrates. You go to a psalm and you will see he's saying that this is happening, this is happening. You hear him crying, but not here. He doesn't start with the crying. He doesn't start with the complaining. Instead of starting this psalm with complaining, he decides to celebrate. Instead of complaining because of his situation, he decides to go to celebrate. That's what he does in this psalm. So this psalm is different. When he is in this particular, that we don't know exactly when this was written, but when he was in this particular predicament, David decided to celebrate instead of complaining. He also decided to contemplate instead of complaining. I want us to check this out because I think there is something that we can learn. Because if you haven't gone into the waiting room in your life, all that I want to tell you today is, if it hasn't come to your life, it will come. And so, if that is going to happen for sure in our lives, then the best thing that we can do is to get ready. So when we are called upon to enter into the waiting room, we will know what to do. So let's go, friends. Verse 1. The Lord is my light and my salvation. I'm sorry, Julie, I'm playing with you. I'm playing so bad with you. I'm sorry. Go back to the previous slide. No, the one before, that one. When you are in the waiting room, there is one thing, one element, one lesson that we need to get. And that it is okay to cry in the waiting room. Check David. This is David. Now we go to verse 1, and I promise you, I'm going to go in order now. Verse 1 says, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Check. He's not complaining. For once, he's not complaining. And this is for me, friends, because I'm a complainer. I like to complain. I love to complain. And I know I'm alone. You're not like that. You don't like to complain. But I like that as soon as something happens, I will go after whoever causes it. If the airline says we are delayed, I'm gonna come to the counter and say what happened, right? I like to complain. And David is the chief of the complainers. But now in Psalm 27. Listen to how he starts his psalm. He says, the Lord is my light and my salvation. And because he is my light and he is my salvation, I don't have anyone to fear. Who shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? I don't see any problem in that logic. Because he's pointing at this Lord. And again, when you find this Lord, is actually the covenantal name of God, which is Yahweh. The way that he is identified in the Bible as the greatest of the great. So he's saying when he is my Lord, when he is my God, he becomes my light. No matter how dark the waiting room may be, he's your light. No matter how difficult you see that impossible for you to get out of the waiting room, He is your salvation. And we will see those words. Let's go and see those words to make more sense of what David is saying. The first word that we find here is the word salvation. The Hebrew word is the word yesha. Now the word yesha is not like you think the Bible is a book about salvation. You will find hundreds and hundreds of times the use of this word yesha is not that common. It's only found 36 times in the Old Testament, the Hebrew Bible. 36 times. That's not a lot. And out of the 36 times that you find it in the Old Testament, guess where you find it the most, the use of this word? Where? The Psalms. 20 times out of the 36 times, this one word is found in the Psalms. David knew about salvation. Now, this word primarily is not necessarily translated into salvation, because when you think about salvation, you think about the cross. But David is talking about being rescued. And most importantly, when you study this one word, you will see that the best way to understand the word is not talking about an action, but a place. You still with me, friends? So the word yesha is not indicating that you were here and you are removed from that place. It's actually finding a place of safety wherever you are. In other words, you are not taken to a safety place. You are in a safety place even when you are in the waiting room. You still with me, friends? So this word is translated into deliverance, salvation, rescue, safety. It is a safe place. So when David is saying, you are my salvation, he's saying the only one that can take me away, the only one that can protect me even in the storm is the Lord, Yahweh. But another interesting word that we find here is the word strength. And of course, we don't analyze every single word here. We just take those words that actually bring a power to what the lessons we're getting out of this. Check what the other word, interesting word that we find in verse 1 is the word strength. Which word, friends? Strength. The word strength is the same word, is translated into strength or fortress. And I hope now you see again the interesting thought about this word ma'oz, which is the Hebrew word for strength, translated into strength. You find it many times. But every time you find this word, there are a few times actually that the word ma'oz is not translated into strength, but is translated into fortress. Now, fortress and stress are not the same thing, because fortress, again, is a place. So when David is saying, you are my strength, the Lord is the strength of my life, he's saying the Lord is the fortress of my life. And remember, our lives are chaotic, even if you deny it. Even if you think that you live in a paradise, there are chaos always happening in our lives. One of the reasons why I come here and I said, just without hesitation, I'm Vivian's wife, is because of the chaos that I'm living. Because when you don't sleep well, your neurons start dying and start not working right. Right? When you are stressed out all the time, stress is good for you. There is good stress and bad stress. If you use stress in a good way, it'll help you. It'll help you strive. But when the stress continues and is a constant event in your life, it hurts you. Right? And being in the waiting room, stress can attack you and permanently attack you. And so I'm not too surprised that I came up here in front of you and said, I'm Vivian's wife. Because it's affecting me. I don't see the same way that I used to see 2 years ago. Things are changing. Because things are happening. But David says, when this goes wrong, when you start being attacked in the way that some of us, or most of us, or even everyone at one point will suffer, will go through these kind of attacks, David says, be sure to do what I did. The Lord is the strength, the fortress. Somebody who understood this is actually Jeremiah. And the translation I actually used here is not strength, is fortress. Listen to what Jeremiah says in Jeremiah 16 verse 19. He says, "O Lord, the same, my strength and my," what everyone? That word fortress, there is the word moaz. It's the same Hebrew word that is translated in Psalm 27 as strength. My refuge in the day of affliction. So check friends, for Jeremiah, it makes sense to find this one place where no one can attack you. And even if they attempt to attack you, there is one who is protecting you. He calls him Yahweh. Inspired Pen and the Ministry of Healing has something to say about this, and I thought it was important for me to share it with you, friends. She says, in every difficulty, God has His way prepared to bring relief. Let's pause right there. Many of us think, what these things are happening? Why now? Why here? Why this way? Why her? Why him? Friends, no situation takes God by surprise. It's not like May 5th, 2023, God said, oh, the surgery didn't go well. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. Nothing takes the God of the universe by surprise. And since He knew that was going to happen, listen, the promise is, in every difficulty, He has His way prepared to bring relief. He is my salvation. He is my deliverance. He is my rescue. We have to join David even now. If you are going through a good season of your life, be sure to join David today, because when that season changes, you know where to go. You will know who is with you. Continue saying, we are not to look at the things which are sin, but at the things which are not, everyone, not sin. That's Yahweh. Because when you are in pain, because when you are crying, when tears cover your eyes, you can't see. So when your eyes are not able to send the information to your brain for you to understand what is in front of you, be sure to close your eyes and see what is unseen. See God. See God instead. Friends, in seasons of uncertainty, like being in the waiting room, light doesn't remove the night. Light guides you through it. Friends, waiting does not mean abandonment. We need to know that though we are there alone, no one else is in that room. We might feel that no one else is in that room. But we are not lonely. We are not to feel that no one is there, because Yahweh is there. The waiting room is dark, but it's not lightless. There is light there. Yahweh is my light. When in despair, look for shelter. Look for your fortress. Go to your fortress, and for you to get there, you might not even need to get out of the waiting room. Because when God's people cry out, the fortress is delivered, home delivery. When in despair, look for shelter. How many times, better said, I've been in that room thinking about how to get out of there. And after I look for my own solutions and I look for my own ways and none of them work, I remember that there is one who offered His salvation to me. More than once, even being still in the waiting room, because I haven't left that room, I feel God's presence in my life. But David continues saying, there is something else that you need to see. Not only cry when you are in the waiting room, it's okay to cry, but when tears cover your eyes, be sure to close them so that you can see the unseen. But he says another one, not only cry when you are in the waiting room. When you are in the waiting room, it is okay to pray. It is okay to pray. As a matter of fact, don't forget to pray. Because the more your knees knuckle to each other, the more they tremble, the more it's just a call for you to kneel on them. So it is okay when you are in the waiting room. It is okay when you are in despair. It is okay to pray. It is okay to cry. It is okay to pray. Listen to what the two verses say. Following verses say, verses 3 and 4. He now switches from the celebration of Yahweh is my light, Yahweh is my salvation, Yahweh is my fortress. He now goes to the reality. And instead of celebrating, he moves to contemplate now. He's not complaining though. He hasn't complained yet. David, who loves to complain, is not complaining in Psalm 27. And that's what I think this is just a brilliant, divinely poem put together for us today. Verses 2 and 3. When the wicked came against me to eat up my flesh, my enemies and foes, they stumbled and fell. He's contemplating the power of that he called light, salvation, fortress, stress. The same one. They stumbled and fell. Now remember that David was a warrior. He won many battles. You don't win battles if you are not in a good physical strength, right? I can picture David just being huge, like muscles everywhere. He was physically potent, but that doesn't mean that was his solution. He never looked for his own strength to solve this kind of problems. He knew that his physical appearance wasn't enough for him to get out of the waiting room. So he looked for Yahweh. That's where his power came from. Not from his physicality, though he was strong, for sure, physically speaking. He looked for God. Though an army may encamp, says verse 3, against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war may rise against me, in this I will be confident. Pray. See, friends, David had all the reasons to be in despair. He did. I mean, this person suffered at everything. War, check. Family dysfunction, check. Infidelity, check. Murder, checked. Lust, checked. Everything. Just imagine the war, the most evil things in life. David, for sure, experienced that. Everything he went through, everything. And he was the chosen of God. Friends, no. Remember, know this, that the fact that you are following God doesn't mean that sin will now follow you. As a matter of fact, when you follow God, sin changes gears to catch you. So we have to run a little faster. We have to run a little faster, friends. David was chosen, and yet he went through all these calamities. Don't think you and I are exempt from this. Imagine us. Just imagine us. If he went through that, imagine us. But if what he did worked for him, it certainly shall work for us. And that's why when we are in despair, don't feel bad about crying. Cry. But when you are in despair, don't focus on how much your knees are knocking to each other. Use them to kneel on them. So when your enemies, pain, suffering, tear, remorse, sin, come against you, don't complain. Instead, contemplate. instead of complaining, contemplate what God has done in the past. Because the same powerful God that delivered you in the past is the same powerful God that is ready to rescue you in your present. That God, friends, still ruling, still reigning, still powerful, still ready to rescue his people. Please know that when you are in the waiting room, you're not alone. You're just not alone. There might be no human presence around. Those that said were your friends might not be around. Those that said that were part of your circle, they don't have time. And see, one thing that I remember really clear, or I can testify, is that in the beginning, everyone had time. Everyone was aware. Everyone was concerned. Everyone was there. But as time continues to passes, the same group that was concerned and always thinking, praying, reaching out, starts to decrease. Less and less. That's life. It's normal. It'll happen. And sooner or later, you will find yourself alone. Alone. But here again, we need to know that though we might be alone without human presence, we might feel lonely. But friends, we need to understand that though we might be feeling lonely, we are never alone. Never alone. It might feel dark in the waiting room, but the light is there to shine upon you. And that's why Peter says, Yahweh is my light. The Book of Desire of Ages in page 528 has to say the following about this. It is in the darkness of trial that the light of faith shines brightest. Isn't that true, friends? See, confidence in God should take over complaining to God. Should take the place of complaining to God. These are the moments where we are to trust this God. These are the moments where we are to know this God is for real. He can save me. And when you give this opportunity to God to work in your life, then you will know in the future when a situation like this comes to you, you will know where to go to. Because the same God that saved you, rescued you in the past is the same God that wants to do the same today in the present. Many times, friends, because I remember the first year, I used to go every single day to Seattle. Every single day. I would go early, and many times I will come after everyone was done. And you know that past 9, past 10 in the evening, there is no one in those hospitals. Basically, the 2-3 nurses that are around, but no people. Family members, barely you see them there, which is very surprising to me. I was one of the few family members there with my patient. The rest were just by themselves. That was sad to me to see that. But it was the reality. The point is that it was just dark, cold, no one there. But friends, even though I felt the absence of human presence, I never felt I was alone. So it's during those times that you are in that room where you know who Yahweh really is. So he's not complaining. David is not complaining. He's celebrating. He's contemplating. Now check what he's going to do in verses 4 and 5. Because when you are in the waiting room, you are not just, it's not only okay for you to cry, it's not only okay for you to pray, but it's also okay for you to obey. In the waiting room, you must learn to obey. I want to tell you, friends, I'm not talking about obey, because many people will say, obey to what? The Ten Commandments? I have to keep the Sabbath. Obey to what? All the laws in the Bible. What is it that I need to obey? No. When you read Psalm 27, you will see that the greatest of all the guidance we have to follow is to trust. Friends, obedience is born out of trust. If you try to obey somebody that you don't trust, sooner or later you will run away. But if you obey somebody that you trust, whatever he says you should do, you will do it because your confidence is on him. So when the psalmist says we are to obey in the wedding room, he's not just talking about laws, he's talking about trust. Check it. Verse 4 and 5 says, one thing I have desired of the Lord. One thing I have desired of the Lord. How many things, friends? Just one thing. So you think there are a list of things that we are to do to call ourselves Christians? No. David says there is only one thing. I love how he summarized the whole thing. Just one thing. And he says, that I will seek. Remember that word seek that we studied last week? Remember that. If you haven't seen it, you can go back and listen to what we discovered together on that word. And that's what David is saying. I will seek. I will just do this one thing. What is it? That I may dwell, in the house of the Lord on Sabbath. In the morning of Sabbath. For the hour and a half, 2 hours of service during the morning of Sabbath. It's funny to see people that when you see their clock going over 12 o'clock, people remember that they have watches. And sometimes they do it on purpose, like, he says, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. See, the Christian walk is not just what happens during Sabbath for a couple of hours. You can call yourself a believer. You can call yourself a disciple of Jesus Christ if all that you feel is if all that you need is what you do during these couple hours of the morning of one day. Yes, the Lord set apart 24 hours. I understand that. And I believe with all my heart that that's a holy day. It's a set apart. It's a sanctified day. It's a holy day. I believe it with all my heart. I defend it with all my strength. But friends, that which you receive on that 7th day of the week is intimately related to what you do in the remaining 6 days of the week. So don't expect any magic to happen on the 7th day if you don't have time for the God of the Sabbath to influence your life during the remaining 6 days of the week. So David is saying it's a full devotion to God. 7 days a week. Stop being a 7-day Adventist and become a 7-day Adventist. He says, this is why I want to dwell in the house of the Lord. I want to dwell because I want to see the beauty of the Lord. I told you that every time I went to Seattle, and the first months, the first year basically, it was tragic after tragic. I mean, everything that they call rare, this is not going to happen. It's very rare that happens. I was afraid. I got scared every time they said rare. Because every time they said that this was rare, that it might not happen to her because it was rare, next second, it'll happen to her. Like every single thing. So after several times this being fulfilled this way, I will come to them and say, please do not use that word rare. And I will come to the room and the doctors will wait for me only with bad news. Like every time. This is happening with the lungs. This is happening with the kidneys. This is happening with this. This is happening with the heart. This is happening. This is happening. Say, come on, guys. Every time I come, you have bad news. Do you ever gonna give me some good news here? But despite of the stress, despite of the bad news after bad news that I received every single day when I was coming to Seattle to the hospital, friends, I came to the church every single Sabbath. I didn't have anything more important than that. Friends, worship service is non-negotiable for me. I don't put anything else on my calendar on that day. You know why? Because I need to worship my God. Because He's my light, because He's my shelter, because He's my strength, because He's my fortress, because I need Him. But you will say, but you can do that alone. No, friends. The word church is written in a singular form, but it means plural. Yeah, we have heard that the church is not a building. Yeah, we know that. We understand that. We are the church, but it's still plural. We are the church. Last time I checked, me by myself, one, we don't make we. So this idea of me worshiping by myself at home or staying home to worship, that takes away the concept of church, assembly, getting together, ecclesia, coming together. Coming together by myself doesn't mean a group of people. So I need this, friends. So every single Sabbath I will come here, and then I will go to, as a matter of fact, May 5th, 2023. This was our plan. No one knew this. We didn't tell to anyone because we thought it was going to be just fine. We prayed, we fasted, we decided with the Lord. We thought this will be just an hour and a half of surgery. And then she was planning to go back on Monday. This was Friday, right? Vivian was planning to go on Monday, back to work on Monday. So the plan was I would take my wife early in the morning on Friday. I will leave her there. I will stay there in the waiting room until the surgery was done for an hour and a half, and then I will leave it be with her in the hospital. Leave it there in the hospital overnight for observation, and then next morning come to the church, be with you guys, and then go back to the hospital to pick her up and bring her back. That was the plan. But that was my plan, because the light, the fortress, the salvation, my salvation, He had a different plan. So I was planning to come that one Sabbath, May 6, 2023, to church. Leaving my wife in the hospital because I knew she was going to be okay. The next day I was going after church to bring her back. Because on Monday she was planning to go back to work. That was the plan. So Sabbath after Sabbath, that one Sabbath, I was debating. You will say, you had the right excuse to miss church. I was debating that one morning. It was last minute. When I said last minute, it was right before 11 that I called somebody to cover for me. I was planning on coming. After a long night of not sleeping, I was planning on coming that one Sabbath. And after that Sabbath, the next one I came. And I don't know why I said. It was just like saying Vivian's wife, basically, I think. Because I don't remember exactly what happened that one Sabbath, the Sabbath after this tragedy. I came and stood before you, friends. And I delivered what I thought it was a message for the Lord, what I think it was a message from the Lord, along with a report of what was taking place in our lives. And then you learn about this. No one knew. I think she shared this news that she was going to do this with one person. I remember that somebody said that person knew. I don't remember who was that person, but besides the two of us, there was somebody else that knew about it. that she decided to share it with. But I came after that Sabbath after Sabbath. I would go to Seattle, see her, come to church, and then I go back to Seattle to be with her the rest of the day. Sabbath after Sabbath, friends. But I want to tell you that this, me loving so much to be in your midst, doesn't make me better. Not missing church doesn't make me better than you. It simply makes me more in need. I'm not trying to say I am better than you. I'm just trying to say I need the Lord more. Because I'm in the waiting room. I am in the waiting room. Friends, the seasons of distress, says Thoughts from the Mount of Blessing. This is page 12. We're almost done. And anguish that come to us are all permitted of God to draw us near to Himself. If this is not happening during your problem, then friends, because we still have two options when we are in despair. We still have two options when we are in problems. We still have two options when we are in trouble. We either run to God or run from God. You have to decide what you're going to do, Joe. It's your decision. What you do when you get in the storm. You're going to Him, or you're going away from Him. So this waiting room shifts our focus from answers to presence. Notice that David didn't ask for first to escape. He asked actually to dwell. And he calls it beauty. He calls this beauty. He goes in verse 5, for in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret place of his tabernacle he shall hide me. He shall set me high upon a rock. And the reason in verse 4 that he wants to go to the temple, the pavilion, the tabernacle, is to behold the beauty of the Lord. Now this beauty is kind of tricky because it depends on what you call beauty. Like for instance, the Cybertruck. Tesla Cybertruck. Is this an ugly piece of metal? Or is it a piece of beauty? Think about it. It's shaped like something out of Minecraft or a sci-fi movie. And yet people still line up to buy it. Some people chase beauty in what looks futuristic and impressive. But David says, I want to behold the beauty of the Lord. It looks also like a giant refrigerator on wheels. It uses the same material. See, earthly beauty is often based on style and trends. God's beauty is timeless. See, friends, even with all the jokes and memes and criticism, people still bought it in a huge numbers. Because for some, this is beautiful. Some people are willing to give money, time, and attention to something they believe is beautiful. But David says, one thing have I desired. Not many things, just one thing. The Cybertruck proves something. People will gaze at what they think is beautiful. Church, David didn't want to gaze at the latest invention. He wanted to behold the beauty of the Lord. If you are in the waiting room like me, I want to tell you that the waiting room is not a wasting room. It's a room of opportunities. It's a room where God can shape you, mold you, recreate you. It is not a wasting room, it is a refining room. Because the Lord does not leave His tried ones to perish. He hides them in the secret of His presence. That's Prophets and Kings 174. Waiting seasons are not wasted seasons. Please know that. They are refining seasons. The waiting room, again, is not a wasting room. Don't ever see it that way. It is a refining room. It's gonna be 3 years in May. For almost 3 years, I'm gonna see these eyes. Always like that. And of course, I'm getting desperate, I'm getting tired, I'm getting exhausted, I'm getting angry of seeing these eyes closed. Because Vivian's eyes have been closed for way too long, friends. And I'm longing for those eyes to be opened. I'm looking at those eyes every single day from the waiting room, praying, crying, and trusting that one day those eyes will be opened again in the sight of the living. When you are in the waiting room, it's testing time. You have to accept that. It's testing time. And Satan knows that when you are suffering, you are vulnerable. You're weak. And I want to tell you what Vivian posted a year before the day of the surgery. That just makes so much sense in my mind. Can we see that slide? We are most vulnerable to temptation and sin when we are worn out with worry and grief. Isn't that right, friends? Because we are so weak, so vulnerable, it's like we need the Lord to be our fortress, our light, our strength. And the best place for us to get that help is the waiting room. So in the waiting room, I have cried. In the waiting room, I have prayed. In the waiting room, I have trusted the Lord. And I'm trusting the Lord. But instead of complaining, I decided to celebrate. Instead of complaining, I decided to contemplate. The waiting room is not the end of the story. We know that God is at work even when nothing appears to change. Jesus knows about waiting. John 11 and verse 6 says, when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed 2 more days. He knows about waiting. He understands waiting. He enters the waiting room. He does not rush, but he never abandons. Friends, we wait in the waiting room, but we are not alone. We are not without hope. I'm still in the waiting room, but I'm not alone. I will wait on Him until He says otherwise. I want to leave you with this one verse that summarizes all that David says. This is Isaiah 12. I'm sorry, that's a typo. Isaiah 12 and verse 2. Behold, God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. For Yah, the Lord, is my strength and my song. He also has become my salvation. Isaiah understood what David said in Psalm 27. The question here is not whether Isaiah, Ezekiel, and all the prophets understood what David was saying in chapter 27 of Psalm. The fair question here for us, friends, is that do I understand it? Do I understand, Samuel, that when life hits me hard, I need to run to the only one who can protect me? Do I understand that when I lose everything, those things I love, those people I love, do I run away from God? Do I run to God? Could it just be, friends, that today, this day, again, almost 3 years, 1,000 days have passed. Could it just be that today I need to make a new pact with this Yahweh? A pact that will not be sealed with a blue pen or black pen, but with the blood of His Son. His promises, His power, His light, His salvation, His strength. I wonder if anyone in this place today is ready to make that pact with the Lord of Lords and King of Kings. Can I see your hands?